if you have the 5, right? And then you grab Jalen Hurts at the 5.
Yep.
And then you have the what, 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then some asshole grabs A.J. Brown at the 7, even though he doesn't have Hurts. Yep. And it's like you just spent one of your earliest picks on this guy. Now, sure, could you still get Devontae? Could you still get Swift or whatever? You know, Goedert. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that happens so often. I'm still going to do them because they're fun, but you're right. You get screwed on them, I feel like more times than not almost.
I got wrecked last year. I maxed it last year. It was a disaster.
Got wrecked because
I maybe had 5 live teams out of 150 when it was all said and done.
Well, I'm saying when the drafts were said and done, or
yeah. So when as soon as the drafts were done, you could look back at the team, and I was just like, "There's no chance that this can win because somebody was sniping a quarterback at the absolute most ridiculous time with nobody else."
Like you're grabbing the stack and then the quarterback last on a team like that, and then now even if you were to make it to the final round, you don't have a starting quarterback.
Correct.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's absurd. Absolutely absurd.
Honestly, one of the approaches I've been thinking about taking is just going like 3-3-2-2 or something like that, or even like a 3-2-2-2, like just in a way to where I'm spreading it out and I'm having like, all right, if I get that quarterback, I get him. If I don't, I'll get it on this team. And now all I need to do is fill 5 spots in the final round, and hopefully all of them make it through healthy.
So I know not to go like crazy game theory on it, but there was a part of me last year when after you draft about 20, 30 teams where I was like, I should start taking some Sam Darnold or something. I should start taking a backup that has to play 3 games. Like, obviously they didn't have to this year. They're the 1 seed. So you're getting 2 games before the Super Bowl, but like.
So like, is your final pick, you mean?
Right. Like get some Tyler Huntley in your life or get somebody that it's like, oh, if you add him, you win in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. There's a lot of game theory to it. It's just first you have to escape the draft unscathed, and that's tough.
Impossible. It's almost impossible.
In regular season best ball where you have 20 rounds and 12, like it doesn't matter. You can fix that. And you don't need the stack necessarily. Like you don't need the stack to win.
No, you don't. But you need pieces of everything, and you more than likely need a quarterback live in the Super Bowl. Just throwing that one out there. Yeah, it's
exactly. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stochastic.com NFL strategy show. It's Thursday morning. We're talking ownership and top stacks. Now, I will say, out of the gate, many of you have been with us all year, for many years, possibly. And if that's the case, you haven't subscribed yet, take a single second, subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up, atone for your sins here. Much appreciated. Helps us, goes a very long way. We have ownership updated. Like everything's good to go. But I can tell you right now, a lot of this is going to be speculation on my part, and Eric Lindquist, at Eric Lindquist, joining me as always. It's going to be speculation, dude. Not everything. Like we know, here's how I'll put it to you, right? We know CeeDee Lamb's going to be mega chalk because there's going to be more than enough value to where you just play him against Washington, right? Like Tony Pollard's going to be chalk. A lot of if Christian Kirk plays, he's going to be chalk. I think it might be one of the best spots to pivot off of on the slate. We'll get there. But fact is, we know a lot of guys that will be chalk. We know a lot of players that won't be chalk. The problem is we don't know about a bunch of players that are going to inevitably end up being chalk when we get more news over the next couple of days.
That's the right way of looking at it. I will say it's nice that we have a ton of early news about teams that have already clinched, that being the Baltimore Ravens. You know, you've got the San Francisco 49ers, just knowing that, hey, we're not going to screw around. We're going to play. Yeah, exactly. And
the Browns.
The Browns. Like we're getting a lot of like coaches being straight up with you because there's really no incentive for them at this point to not do that. The Rams are the one team that could jostle between 6 and 7. That can matter who they play, but otherwise it's pretty meaningless, any of those games. And so you're getting a lot of the backups that will be going out there playing full bore. And then you're getting, I think, an option in Tyler Huntley that's always kind of a fun guy when you have somebody with the kind of a rushing floor built in for what their skill set is. Now, did they put the pedal to the metal? Probably not, but it's still a decent enough floor to get in some of these quarterbacks. I mean, I'm excited to watch Carson Wentz play football, if nothing else, just for the spectacle of it all. I mean, the Joe Flacco experience has been fun. I'm sure you're excited to watch Carson Wentz play football on Sunday.
I'm pulling for him.
Okay.
I hope he does well.
I'm sure.
I have no hard feelings against Wentz, you know, but Carson Wentz, Sam Darnold, it's not the worst matchup of backups I've ever seen. The one spot that I honestly, and by the way, happy to have you guys with us. Thanks for tuning in. This is the last week of the regular season, so let's make it happen. And it's the wildest week of any regular season every single year. I really thought that there was a possibility that Andy Reid would run his starters for a little bit in this game because of how they've completely limped into the postseason. Like, yeah, you can look back on previous years and go, well, no, I mean, Andy Reid always sits his guys. I get that. But that's when they're like 12-4, 11-5, rushed, struggled in maybe some of the early games, but crushed in November and December, just cut through their competition like butter. I really thought there might have been a possibility that he would get them out there just to find a little bit of cohesion, but even that's not going to happen with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, got ruled out already, so there's that. There's I think more cards being played up front this year than in years past. We don't have to have those massive question marks. More of the question marks we have are is like, how much do the Rams care about Puka Nakua's rookie record? Like, how much do they care about that? It seems McVay said he's going to play a little bit there, but does that make him viable? Does he play a quarter?
No.
Does he get pulled as soon as he plays, as he gets, 28 yards or 29 yards, whatever it was there?
Yes.
So many different things like that I think matter to some extent. Obviously, we don't have the Miami game on the main slate, so that changes a little bit for me because obviously Tyreek Hill is somebody that, Miami's playing for something. They're playing to win the division there against Buffalo, and that would have been a fun one to have some exposure to. But then there's guys playing for jobs, Nick Mullins, and Minnesota, I guess, is not entirely out of playoff contention, although it definitely feels like that, a 4% playoff probability, 9% probability if they win this football game against Detroit. Just a weird slate. It always is, but like, I think there's enough stuff that we can mine through and find some good plays.
Absolutely. I would be shocked if Puka Nacua is not out of this game the moment he gets that number, if they get it to him.
Yeah, I would be
shocked.
I would be shocked too.
And plus the record's held by like Jim Bowden or whatever. No, not Jim Bowden, something from 1960.
The 5 catches of Puka Nacua is at least like a fun thing to think about. What do those 5 catches look like? Are they going to go for the reception record too?
Even if they do, I don't think he's viable at all.
Okay, that's fair.
Because he's like, okay, yeah, sure. There's no Kyron Williams, there's no Cooper Kupp, but you're paying $7,800 for Puka Nacua. Like, I couldn't argue doing that over a $7,400 Mike Evans against Carolina in a must-win game, right? I couldn't argue that over even like DK Metcalf in a must-win game at $7,200. DJ Moore in a spot where I think they come out and fight against a banged-up Green Bay team at $7K. There's just so much in that range that it would be very difficult for me to make that. I'd even take Devontae Adams over him, and I don't even like Devontae Adams this week.
Yeah, we saw that with the Lions last year. They wanted to send it to the Green Bay Packers, and they did in Lambeau. Last week of the year, sent Aaron Rodgers off on a rail. It was beautiful. Couldn't have loved it anymore as a Viking fan, but I do expect that too. So, the Bears, Justin Fields playing for a job, playing for a city basically that, isn't sure what to think about him. I would be thinking I would want Justin Fields, but that's just me. Go get yourself some Marvin Harrison Jr. Go get yourself Udunze from Washington. There are some wide receivers in this class, pretty much the opposite in the NFL of what you're looking at in the NBA, where it's just dust for the NBA draft this season. Like, there are some massive talents coming out of the college football ranks this year. So, yeah, Justin Fields definitely going to be a fascinating one as well.
And they're free rolling because they already have the number 1 pick.
Yep. It's beautiful.
Right? Like that's.
And they have another pick sitting no worse than 10th.
No, I think it could get worse than 10 if they win.
Oh, okay. I thought I read it was like no worse than 10th.
Maybe
they win.
No,
you're right. You're right.
You're right.
They're 7-9. You're right. They could move up to like 14.
Yeah, but even so, close the season out in a big way. I would imagine that they want to do that. So let's get into it. Let's make it happen. Mateus, they'll have a showdown slate for that for sure. And you might not see it on there now. They'll definitely have a Bills-Dolphins showdown slate. No doubt. No doubt about it. They have to. Sunday Night Football, they will.
It's going to be incredible.
All right, so here's the way we do this show for those of you guys new, just somehow finding us in the final week of the regular season. We look at ownership. We talk about the popular chalky plays. Look for some guys that might provide us with some leverage at the bottom. We'll run the Sims tool and look at that throughout and at the end as well. And we'll go position by position. The reason we don't do quarterbacks first is because so many of these guys at wide receiver, tight end are tethered to the quarterback conversation. And then when we talk about stacks and we look at what stack exposure we're getting in the Sims tool, all of that's going to come into focus regardless. So let's kick it off at the running back spot. I'll tell you what, Tony Pollard, it's gross, but he's going to be chalky going up against the Washington team that's just, they're dead. Ron Rivera's got to be cooked. Right now, the two highest owned players on the slate are from the 13-point favorite Dallas Cowboys. It's CeeDee Lamb, and then Tony Pollard is the highest running back on this one. Now, here's the thing, though. All right, let me just lay the foundation for you for a second. So there's no Christian McCaffrey.
Yep,
he's out. Kyron Williams on this slate is not going to play, right? So you have Rachaad White as your highest priced running back. I still think even at that salary, because there's going to be less opportunity cost, that Rachaad White is a really interesting play against the Panthers team that's allowed 21 rushing touchdowns to running backs alone. But then you have Alvin Kamara, who is not participating in practice. He might not play. So ultimately, up at the top, you're talking like Breece Hall, brutal match. I hate this matchup against the Patriots. Travis Etienne in a must-win game. Rachaad White in a must-win game. And then you get below 7K. So I think ownership's going to tell us a lot of the story here at the running back spot.
Yeah, it really is. And it's going to change a lot, but Tony Pollard is not. Tony Pollard at 6,500 going up against Washington isn't changing. It's the second worst team against running backs. Washington is fantasy-wise. They've given up the second most to running backs, that is. And Tony Pollard, say what you want about him. It's definitely been a disappointing season. The attempts are going to be there. It's a game that there's incentive to win, and they're massive favorites. So all the boxes are kind of checked for a play that should be chalky. And if he's not for some reason, because people are apprehensive, I think that's just a jam spot because there's nobody who has that level of certainty. Now, I'm really interested to see what people end up doing with the likes of a Zamir White here, because for all intents and purposes, Davante Adams came out yesterday and said, we want to play for our dude. They are looking to go take it to Denver here at home and try to send a message to Davis to hire their guy. And now Zamir White has just been getting a bell cow workload. We don't expect Jacobs, of course. 17, 22, and 20 rushing attempts here. There are so many pivots off of Zamir White, I believe, in some kind of regard, where there are teams in more competitive spots. And if something happens where Zamir White gets dinged up whatsoever, don't you put him in bubble wrap? He's shown some utility now the last 3 games. I don't know. It's at least somebody that I'm starting to talk myself into maybe being lighter than what the field is going to be, because there's guys like Jordan Mason that exist on the San Francisco side that I feel are just completely cheap and going to get all of the opportunities because everybody else, whether it's Eli Mitchell, Christian McCaffrey, who's not going to play, like they matter so much to the playoff picture for San Francisco, where Jordan Mason, don't you just let him run into a brick wall a million times?
I said it to Ben yesterday that Jordan Mason could absolutely be the guy. And I was honestly hoping that Elijah Mitchell would be active, because I feel like,
me too.
Yeah, that would pull a ton away from him. But and another spot being like Pierre Strong. It's not a fun spot, but do they play Jerome Ford and do they play Kareem Hunt in Cleveland? Or does Pierre Strong play like 90% of snaps in this game?
Good question. I don't have the answer to it. It's a 4K Pierre Strong, so you're incentivized to try to guess, incentivized to figure out, because 4K is different than some of these other pieces. Ronnie Rivers is going to be more popular, you would think, than what Pierre Strong is going to be. And that does a lot to be able to get to the CeeDee Lambs, to get to other guys. Salary is always kind of a question mark on if it matters or not on slates like this. I think Davante Adams has vaulted himself into a player that I probably want to have exposure to. The Vikings aren't completely dead with Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb, so there's wide receivers to pay up for. And there's not really running backs to pay up for this week. I mean, with no Kyron, obviously no Christian McCaffrey, Rachaad White, 7,600. That's your most expensive, like, quote unquote, certain running back workload that we have on the entire slate.
For sure. And I mentioned as well, actually, I did the picks for every game video on the Odd Shopper channel on Tuesday. Did it early this week since there's no Thursday night football. Figure let's just get it out. And when I got to that Raiders game, this was before the Davante Adams presser. Like they love Antonio Pierce. Like they're gonna play for this guy. And look, does that always materialize and translate into wins? No, of course not. But if this is another opportunity for him to, add another win to his resume as an interim coach, I don't think they back down at all. Whereas on the other hand, you've got a team where it's like, yeah, Sean Payton will be around, but on one hand, the trajectory seemingly pointing up for the Raiders. They're like, we like this guy. We have some pieces. You know what I mean? We stay competitive. We get some wins. Not a great year, but McDaniels is gone. Josh McDaniels is gone. Fine. But we're going to go out there at home and we're going to play 60 minutes. On the other side with Denver, I'm not convinced that that's the case. Like you're trotting Jared Stidham out there. Cortland Sutton probably doesn't play. They have no run game to speak of. The team is pretty lifeless at this point. And a quarterback that they invested so much in Russell Wilson, it's done. It's over. It was a failure. So this is like let's just get through the season. Whereas with Vegas, I think there is real incentive here to win this game and win it convincingly.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't completely downgrade Jared Stidham, where obviously I didn't get the outcome I was hoping for. I was really looking for 2 touchdown catches. If that ticket had cashed, I would have been ecstatic either way. He was decent enough, didn't get enough of the rushing equity there, only 6 attempts, 6 yards, but I still feel like he's not a complete zero there. They do have a little bit of money wrapped up in Jared Stidham. He has a 2-year contract with them. See if that's somebody that can be serviceable for you next year. Dip your toes in the draft. There's a number of quarterback shots to take. I think in the first round between Penix, May, everybody up there, you could trade up. There's options I think Denver has here once they unload Russell Wilson. But from a football perspective, come Sunday, I don't hate the idea of Jerry Jeudy, who's just trying to, show that he can still play at any kind of a level. I didn't see a whole hell of a lot against the Chargers last week, that's for sure. But I don't completely discount them. I think that game might be more competitive than it would otherwise indicate for something that has nothing to be played for outside of coaching jobs and specific individuals. But yeah, that's one for Vegas that I think Davante Adams, not ironic that he is happy now after 21 targets last week.
He should be like, he should be getting opportunities.
That's exactly it. Yeah, it was absurd the way that they were running their offense, where it's like, why is Davante Adams, who's open almost every single play, not just getting targeted ad nauseum?
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Again, I think he's fine, but up top at wide receiver, well, we'll get there. But CeeDee Lamb and AJ Brown, I know there were some whispers that Sirianni was consider resting these guys, but AJ Brown might be my favorite play on the entire slate this week.
What?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
We'll get there. I'm surprised that you would be so surprised.
I am pretty surprised. I don't have AJ Brown above a lot of guys this week. I like CeeDee Lamb more. I like Justin Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown in the game environment more. I like Davante Adams more. I like Nico Collins more. I like Michael Pittman more. I like Stephon Diggs more, but that's in the evening game, so that doesn't count. I like DJ Moore more. I like a lot of guys more than I like Mr. AJ Brown. You think that they're just going to pepper him and try to get this offense sparked up?
Yeah, and after that press conference or after speaking to the media, after breaking his silence yesterday, you're damn right. I think so.
Weather's going to be a little bit of an issue too. It's supposed to snow and rain and 70% chance, right?
It'll be some rain. There's not going to be any significant snow. Okay. I'm like an hour and a half away from East Rutherford or wherever it is. It's not.
You're looking outside your window and it's like a 3-day forecast. I don't think it's going to rain.
No, it's dude. We were supposed to get up to 11 inches. Now they're calling for like 3 inches. So it's just becoming more rain. Plus this Saturday, Sunday is going to be mostly fine. I'm so shocked that you don't share a similar sentiment. Like Devontae Smith is not going to play. You're facing the Giants. And like no Devontae Smith, in all likelihood, he's out of this game. He didn't practice yesterday. He's dealing with an ankle sprain. This game is like why? Okay, so how about this? Like Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced he plays more than a half.
I am. It depends. I mean, they'd have to put their foot down a little bit. I mean, this is still. I like Amon-Ra St. Brown more.
All
It
right.
depends. I mean, we'll see what the halftime score is for the Cowboys game, right?
No, those are 4 o'clock games. So yeah, but still, they need the Eagles to lose to the Giants and the Cowboys to lose to the Commanders.
Yeah, not likely. You're probably right about that, but
So like if you want to risk it, and we know Dan Campbell's not afraid of being weird, right? Like I get that. I'm not thoroughly convinced at this point that they are going to do that.
okay.
And the line in this game right now is sitting at 3. Should the Lions not be favored at home by more than 3 points against the Vikings, who don't have a starting quarterback?
Well, we have Nick Mullins. He's a person.
He's a
He
person,
exists.
sure.
His feelings.
Yeah.
I have
I'm
feelings
just-
too, and they've
I'm
been
just saying, if
ripped
this
out of
is
my
week-
soul.
If this is week 17, there's no way they're 3-point favorites against the Vikings.
Yeah. Well, in the grand scheme of things, the Vikings 9% chance to still get in if they win this football game, and the Saints, they're in a flip. Seahawks, Packers, like crazier things have happened. I don't expect it to happen, but like the Vikings should be playing this one straight up.
Oh, they will. They will. They have zero shot of getting in, really. But
Thank you.
well, I'm not. Have you looked at what they need?
Yeah,
actually
9%.
happen?
Yeah, they need a lot of things to end up falling their way. Green Bay, it's a lot of things that need to end up falling down. What is it? Win at Lions, Packers lost to Bears, Seahawks lost at Cardinals, Saints lost to Falcons, then win at Lions. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that need to occur.
Either way, look, I'm not even trying to be argumentative. All I'm saying is I thought you would like AJ Brown more, and you don't. That's a good thing. This is good. I enjoy when we have these type of conversations.
And normally we've been on the same page for a lot of guys recently. For me, it's just I don't trust what the hell Philadelphia is doing offensively, defensively, and offensively. I mean, they are just brutal. I don't almost trust them to do smart things anymore. Like
they don't listen. I've been saying that. I've been saying it literally all year. All year. You could go back like week 4 and watch me do any of these shows, that they've been getting lucky, that they've been getting wins that they didn't necessarily deserve, and they won, I'm sure, but eventually the other shoe was going to drop. You guys have watched, that, and the other shoe did drop, and it was a resounding thud heard around Lincoln Financial Field last week when they lost straight up to the Cardinals. Here's the thing, though. We have AJ Brown at 6% projected ownership, with Devonta Smith not like what?
Well, Julio Jones is the number 1 now.
Yeah, 2 targets for 2 touchdowns.
It's AJ
Brown, massive game. Anyway.
Yeah. Quez Watkins season. Olympus Zacchaeus season. Let's go. My God.
If Olamide Zacchaeus has a huge game here and AJ Brown has 2 receptions, I'll hang it up for good. Anyway.
Quote it. Clip it, Jordan Klein. Clip it.
Aaron Jones is getting ownership against Chicago. No issues with that.
None.
I'm just out on Bijan right now. Like 6,600. There's 1,000 other guys I'd rather get to. I like Rachaad White though, because I don't normally $7,600 for him is tough to get to when you're like, well, I'd rather just pay 83 for Kyron Williams, But here, I don't think it's that tough to get there.
It's not. It's not that difficult. I definitely like getting there. I mean, let's do this. I think this is a fun way of looking at the running back position on a slate like this. Let's build out what our 3 running backs would be. Like if we were using one in the flex. What?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is kind of a fun exercise. I think Jordan Mason's my first click in. I think San Francisco has 0 incentive to try to play Eli Mitchell in any way, shape, or form. It's an afternoon game that gets you some swappability. And then maybe they bring somebody up off the practice squad, but otherwise Kyle Juszczyk, I mean, he is so important as a fullback to them too, that's a guy you might even take off the field. So like Jordan Mason should get a bell cow workload here, barring anything like very unfortuitous happening here. Rams should be resting all of their main defensive starters, and Jordan Mason has at least shown a little bit of burst at times. Week 5, week 6, got some opportunities. And it came to fruition pretty quickly. So, like, that's not a 0 there at the running back position. So he would be my first click.
Me too. We rank them, like, we do our top player by tier on the first look show. And bottom tier for me was Jordan Mason yesterday. I think there's an argument to be made for Pierre Strong, though, if everybody is out in Cleveland. Could be ugly, but I would expect the volume to be there. Number 2, I would go. I would for sure go, and I'll leave Pollard to you if that's your guy.
No, we'll skip Pollard because I expect him to be mega chalk, and
Okay.
it feels like a comfortable fade for the time being at the current ownership because he could end up getting just jammed in small field.
I'll go Rachaad White.
Love it. That's my favorite play too.
Who else you got? We
James
actually
Conner.
have Pierre Strong at 11% right now. I'm just seeing that now. It makes sense though. Makes total sense.
James Conner, the guy, they're just playing this straight up because they want to see what this team is going to look like going forward. And offensively, extremely competent in pretty much all scenarios with Kyler Murray and James Conner active. You saw Josh Dobbs get rotated in there. Kyler Murray has been without Marquise Brown pretty much this entire time. He didn't play week 14, didn't play week 16, 17. And Kyler's looked very, very functional back there. And a lot of that is James Conner's just kind of a dude. 26 carries against your Eagles, 128 there, added a catch into the mix for a touchdown. I mean, he is an important game changer, and they waited to bring Kyler Murray back until James Conner was a full go. Because, I mean, that's just that is a tandem that you're going to want to pay attention to. I know it's not like crazy popular going, hey, quarterback to running back there, considering what you've seen from well, other than McCaffrey, other than maybe a Kyron Williams there, who was like your last pick of drafts this year, will be a top 5 pick this year. But like James Conner against Seattle, they're just going to play it straight up again. Like they have no reason not to. They want to know exactly what they have with Kyler Murray. I don't expect bubble wrap. I don't expect any changes here. And Kyler's out there just slinging it, 25 for 31 against the Eagles. I know a lot of people have gone off against the Eagles recently, as well as the Bears the week before. But I mean, this has been as good or better than what you could have hoped for from Kyler Murray at the tail end of this season. And James Conner's got to come along for the ride.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I can appreciate that. My only concern here is that they feel like they've won the Super Bowl after last week.
That would be really stupid, but I get it.
I'm just saying,
going to Philly, you beat the team that made it to the Super Bowl last season, and you showed out that you're pretty good at football. Yeah, I get that to a certain extent.
You didn't just beat the team that went to the Super Bowl last year. You know who their head coach is? It's Jonathan Gannon, their defensive coordinator
from last
year that helped get them to the Super Bowl. Yeah. So I do think that was a big emotional spot, and now Seattle needs this. But no, James Conner's getting a lot of volume. I can understand that for sure. If I'm rounding it out with my third, this is where it gets really tricky because there's a lot in here that I don't like. DeAndre Swift at 3% right now, probably a little bit too expensive, but I understand it. There's another spot I'm going to ask you about before we move to wide receivers, and it's a narrative spot. But I would go, damn, dude. Like your cheap guys now, Ronnie Rivers, Pierre Strong, Jordan Mason. Those are your real cheap guys that we're going to have. We've done a pretty good job with ownership so far on these guys so early in the week.
Yep, I would agree. And obviously Kenneth Walker, if he doesn't play, everybody's going to play Zach Charbonnet, and they probably should. So that I have no problem with. So there's going to be things that change throughout the week, and we're going to get coach speak for the next couple days. It's just things to be on high alert for. Like maybe they say James Conner isn't going to play a full workload for the first time in forever, and they're going to, mix in some Michael Carter for this and for that, and it'll be whatever. But trying to think of who else I would really want. Okay, I'm ready for you. Breece Hall. Just
no, I do not like that match.
I don't either.
I think the Patriots lock it down. I like Saquon Barkley a lot this week.
Ooh.
Yeah. Look, I think A.J. Brown has a big game, but it doesn't mean their defense can stop anybody. We just saw James Conner eat them alive last time out. They're at home. Tyrod Taylor, markedly better than Tommy DeVito. Say what you want. It's the truth.
It's fact.
Yeah, I think Barkley at sub 7K with the volume you could see from him is a really nice play this week. I like Saquon Barkley.
Okay. I can definitely get behind that because he just seems like a guy who wants to play football, and you just kind of want to make Saquon Barkley happy because you've made him unhappy as a Giants organization for however many years. So let him have a little parting gift. I'm surprised, like, you like AJ Brown that much, but you don't like a 3% DeAndre Swift. I find that fascinating.
No, I said at 3%. I don't mind that. I just think he's a little bit overpriced is all.
Okay.
But no, I don't mind Swift at all.
Yeah.
I just think he should probably be like Aaron Jones price and not Saquon Barkley price.
That's fair. That's fair.
I have one question for you, then we'll move on to wide receivers here. And let me know, guys, in chat, where are you looking here? Are there any low-owned guys right now? Jordan threw our ownership projections up on the screen, so you can see that. They're pretty good for so many question marks right now. Like they'll get sharper and sharper and more accurate throughout the week, obviously. But let us know, like, what spots are you looking at that we haven't touched on? I want to ask you about one, and I saw some people going, do you think Derrick Henry?
Oh no.
Well, hold on. Like, do you think Derrick Henry gets rested and it goes to Tajay Spears? And I said, yeah, maybe. But then I thought about it more. Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry are probably gone after this. This is why, by the way, I like the Titans plus 5.5 this week. I think it's a rally spoiler spot at home with Mike Vrabel as your coach. Do you think Derrick Henry just gets fed to the moon in a spot like this with what is very likely his last game as a Tennessee Titan?
I will be honest, I did
right?
not humanly think about Derrick Henry getting more than like 10 touches here or something. I feel like Tennessee fans want to see him out on the field and like one more Derrick Henry game. So I think that there's something that makes sense there. It's just so hard when it's not data driven for me, when you just see Derrick Henry over the course of the season averaging less than 4 yards per carry. There's definitely some lack of burst that has never been there until this year. There's just so much work on the tires here. But as you said, going up against a Jacksonville defense that's disintegrated into thin air in front of our eyes the last couple of weeks. I mean, had just shootout after shootout spot. I don't completely hate it. I mean, I don't think it's completely out of the question that, man, I'm having a tough time even thinking about that because, like, Tajay Spears was somebody that at 4,600, I thought you could definitely see some receiving volume. And, you know, if you're going to see them come from behind or, you know, Tajay Spears ends up seeing more of that. But, like, maybe they do have, like, a one more time for the Gipper here, Derrick Henry spot. So, I mean, if that ends up working out, that's a 1-2% type dart that could just send you to the moon.
Yeah. And do I think I get there? Probably not. I'm not saying it's like a Kobe retirement game, right? But it's worth thinking
50 shot attempts or something.
Yeah, it's worth thinking about though, because he's been an amazing piece of that franchise for a very, very long time, right? Like,
why didn't they trade him?
Yeah, I don't know.
That was stupid. Somebody would have gave up something for him, and now
I think by the time they had a competent guy working behind him, because before that it was what, like Hassan Haskett, other guys that just weren't any good. And then when they finally had somebody that they figured out midway through the year in Spears, it's probably too late. But if nothing else, I do like Tennessee plus 5.5. I'll tell you that much.
Definitely, I'm gonna be adding that one. I think that seems like some fun I can have.
Yeah, and even if they lose, they're playing a Jacksonville team that has been, like you said, they're just disintegrating. So we'll see. Any other low-owned spots at running back here? Oh, and by the way, Brad in chat said that Etienne's a great play. Yeah, I do. I very much like it, especially with Jeffrey Simmons done for the year. That helps. I like Travis Etienne in a spot like this too.
Yeah, I guess for the Lions, I mean, obviously they can jostle on like who they're going to end up playing between 3-4, but for the most part, there's not a ton of incentive for the Gibbs and Montgomery shots to be crazy high in your portfolio this week. I don't think. Again, that always has to have an asterisk to it. Things can change. I guess Breece Hall would just be the guy I want to shout out. I know that New England, you said you expect New England to lock it down for sure. And obviously, maybe a coach playing for a job. Who'd ever think that was going to be the Bill Belichick story? But Breece Hall, 7,200. You can't say enough. He was the #1 running back throughout the fantasy playoffs here for anybody in year long, and was #1 by a considerable margin. Massive ceiling, massive opportunity. I mean, do you just let him go for? I guess it just comes down to like you probably want to put him on bubble wrap. He is that important to your football team. A guy who had a massive injury last season, but he's at what, 816 yards. Yeah, I mean, maybe you just let him unleash and have one more chance to go out there and have some fun here. Obviously, it's a risky spot, but you could say that about so many of these guys. And at least Breece Hall has shown the massive ceiling that can come along with $7,200 there. It's just a question of like, if we want to get to the stud wide receivers, which I'm sure we're just about to talk about, which I think we all do and probably all prefer as opposed to the expensive running backs outside of Rachaad White, I think you just kind of play Rachaad White and move on with your life in the 7K range. But Breece Hall is at least interesting because, hey, he's shown it like 3 of the last 4 weeks, and it is ridiculous because it's him or nothing in that offense.
The only counter I have to that is this seems like the team that's looking towards the next year more than maybe any other team on this slate. Like, get Aaron Rodgers back.
Yeah.
We still have Breece Hall. We still have Garrett Wilson. Get Elijah Vera Tucker back. We still have an insane defense. This season sucked. We did what we could. We made it through. It's over. Get ready for 2024 where we have Aaron Rodgers at the helm and a healthy core. Like, to me, the Jets seem, I'm not saying they're just going to completely lay down because it's still the NFL and there's a lot of parity. But to me, it does feel like one of those instances where on the other side, Belichick's last game as a Patriots head coach at home, Gillette Stadium in Foxborough. Like, it just, to me, this seems very, very, like, diametrically opposed as far as where each team is. One team next year could be really good. The Patriots have a long way to go before they rebuild, and this could be Belichick's last game as head coach.
I'm going to just throw out one more thing about it just to throw it out there. I have some numbers. 9, 8, 9, 2, 16, 9. That's Breece Hall's targets the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's absurd. Just from a dump off perspective, like, just give me that many dump offs for a guy who, if you give him space, can beat any defense. He just did it against Cleveland. He's done it in difficult matchups, knowing that he's the only offensive asset all year long here. I know Garrett Wilson is talented as well, but definitely far more difficult to get the ball downfield with your quarterbacks as opposed to just dumping it off to Breece Hall and letting him do something in space with it. But I will say it's at least interesting. And, you know, everything that you're saying, I definitely can see that angle to it. But then if they weren't in that situation, Breece Hall would be like 25% owned. So at least I'm getting the ownership discount at 6% to at least find out in a couple of lineups.
Sure. All right. Before we go to wide receiver, let me hold your feet to the fire for a second.
Okay.
I'm going to give you guys that are within $500 more expensive or $400 less, or $400 more expensive or $400 less expensive than Breece Hall. Okay.
Okay.
Rachaad White or Breece Hall?
Rachaad White.
Travis Etienne or Breece Hall?
Breece Hall.
Saquon Barkley or Breece Hall? He's $300 less expensive.
I think the Giants have the higher team total, I believe. So yeah, I'll go Saquon.
Okay. And then last one, I think this will be probably the closest for you. DeAndre Swift or Breece Hall?
Breece Hall.
Okay. And I guess I could throw Gibbs out there too, because you tend to think that the Lions will run for longer than I do. I have some real concerns with that spread.
Yeah, it's an early game though, and there's news to break for them later in the day. You kind of want to shore it up, I suppose, and just say, hey, if something happens, I mean, the Giants are very live to beat Philadelphia. I think we just saw that with Arizona last week, where you shouldn't be having a spread outside of, you know, it's not outside of a touchdown right now for a reason.
All right, let's talk wide receivers. Before we do, guys, I don't know how many times I got to say it. Better, BETR. You see it up top. Double, 2x your first deposit up to $500. Means 500 turns into 1,000. Hell, 50 turns into 100, 20 turns into 40. At a spot where you can up to 100x your entries, up to 8 plays in any lineup you want, just taking the over or under on any player projection. You're in non-legal betting states, particularly. Here's an amazing way to take advantage of it. You see Eric's picture up there. Double your first deposit up to $500. Also, we saw the free square with Patrick Mahomes last week. Do we have another free square opportunity this week going into week 18? Wouldn't surprise me. The biggest thing, though, more than anything else, one, collect your bonus money. You know this, Eric. You do sports betting content. I say it all the time. Collect your bonus money for signups from every single sports book, or in this case, every single pick'em site you can, and then shop your odds on every single site that you can. And in this case, it means getting the free squares, means finding better lines. It means all of that on top of the bonuses. So even if you're on one or two, why not take some of the funds that you have there, redistribute them elsewhere, rebalance these accounts to make sure that no matter the day, you're getting the free squares, you're getting the bonuses, and you're always getting the best lines on all of these plays.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be heading out to Arizona for a little while to go stay with my parents and hang out as they get, they do the snowbird thing coming down from South Dakota. And so I'm going to help them get everything situated there. But selfishly, I just really want to be firing off as many different sports books as I possibly can, in addition to Pick'em stuff, where you can do everything there in the great state of Arizona and have an opportunity to sign up for new offers and things of that likening. Now, better, I have access to, it's fantastic, $500 first match deposit bonus, but it can't be emphasized enough. Having multiple places to play so that you can shop for lines, regardless of if that is Pick'em or anything else, is the game changer for you. It is just what you have to do to be profitable in either space right now. They're too competitive, and they will have advantageous lines trying to vie for your business. So it is something where better, I will look at it next to Underdog and Prize Picks, and I will just compare, and I will play at the best spot. And you should be doing the same thing. Plus, when you get $500 to jump in, you can play up to 8 picks, you can stack up an entire game, and you can correlate plays. You're the one in the driver's seat to make money. So that is the reason you want to sign up at Better and sign up at all these pick'em sites if you're in a state where that is something that you have access to.
Check it out, baby. Link in the description and in chat. Get your deposit bonus, free squares, line shop, all of that good stuff. Click it. Don't need a promo code. Link will take you there. Get you that bonus. Wide receivers. All right, so here's the good thing. You and I are already ahead of schedule because we've already talked about a lot of these guys, right? I don't really think we need to dive any deeper into CeeDee Lamb. As much as I talk about AJ Brown, I obviously love CeeDee Lamb this week. With that in mind, though, this guy might be 40% owned in large field contests, and he's $9,300. That would be crazy. Okay, that is a lot of ownership because look, there's more than one way to skin a cat when it comes to beating the Washington Commanders, right? They faced them on Thanksgiving Day, took care of business, and CeeDee Lamb was largely uninvolved in a game like that. I'm not saying it happens again. I'm just saying if you're paying $9,300 for a guy that's 35-40% owned in the millie, or even, in the SPY, he'd probably be 45% owned in a spot like that. I'm willing to look elsewhere. And guys like AJ Brown stand out to me. Guys like Mike Evans. Right now, we have Mike Evans ownership. Where do we have him at?
Not very high.
We have Mike Evans at 6% ownership in a must-win game. DJ Moore at 8% ownership. Jamar Chase at 13% ownership. I don't know, man. And I don't think Higgins is going to play. I don't see any reason they would play him after simply using him as a decoy last week with 0 playoff aspirations in week 18. I just think there's so many good mid-range, upper mid-range wide receivers this week.
Yeah, but CeeDee Lamb, if you're playing cash, first click in. There's no way.
Hold on.
Yeah.
You can't say that after I'm like, yeah, he could be 45% in the SPY or 40% in the million. And you're like, yeah, but Dave, you got to play him in cash. Yeah,
he's projected for 26. Okay, so I guess here's the argument for why you would want to fade. There are a lot of wide receivers, be it Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, if you think it'll be more competitive there, Devontae Adams, for all the reasons we talked about, and your guy, A.J. Brown. They all have comparable ceilings. They're guys who can go for 35, 40 and become must-have pieces, and you get access to all of them at drastically lower ownership because CeeDee Lamb exists, just absorbing all of it. But raw points, 20, 25 from CeeDee Lamb on a Week 18 slate can get it done in a Millie Maker this week on weeks that it doesn't necessarily have that access to. And, one of my biggest DFS scores from NFL was a 50K win, 3-4 years ago, where George Kittle, he ended up being in the game after Travis Kelce. So then he just goes back and breaks the record back-to-back. And I ended up getting to 2 tight ends, one that was 40% owned in Travis Kelce and one that was like 3 or 4% owned in George Kittle. And it was beautiful, fun stuff. And really all it came down to was like, okay, well, one's going to be way, 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 way higher owned than the other because of perceived, what that is. And then the other one, but in reality, you could have both. And that's where I think this is kind of where we're getting at. Running back, we have a lot of cheap options. There's going to be guys to rotate in that I don't even know who they are right now. Maybe it ends up being Pierre Strong that I end up jamming. Maybe it ends up being more, Jordan Mason is the guy in the top of my head right now who I'm just going to be playing a ton of if the slate started today. But I can get CeeDee Lamb plus Justin Jefferson plus Devontae Adams on a week like this so easily. And I don't think enough people are going to be looking at it that way. So For me, I'm probably, if the slate started now, I'd probably have 100% CeeDee Lamb and end up living with the result. But I totally see where you're coming from because there are lots of ceilings and access to those ceilings surrounding him for much cheaper tags.
Yeah, look, I love CeeDee Lamb. He's the best. There's no player that's going to project higher than CeeDee Lamb on this slate for sure. Yeah. I'm just saying, what if he's 45%? Like,
yeah, it's uncomfortable. And there's going to be if he only puts up 20, there's going to be 5, 6, 7 guys who eclipse that easily. But even if he puts you still have 25, to get those guys right. Yeah, you still have to get those guys right, which is the hard part. And no doubt. Yeah, you'd think out of 100,000 lineups, 200,000 lineups in a tournament that somebody's going to get the other pieces to come along for the ride. I can tell you from playing these week 18s and these preseason slates, that doesn't always happen. So getting some of those certain points into your lineups, barring injury with a CeeDee Lamb, feels like a path I'm going to take more times than not on a week like this and let 55% of the field figure out where else they're going to get 25 from.
I hear you. It's just if CeeDee Lamb does have that 20-point game and now half of the field has him. Okay, let me put it to you this way. If AJ Brown really does come in at like sub 10% ownership against the Giants, I love that. If, like even with Nick Mullins, if Justin Jefferson, what happens if Dan Campbell does decide that his starters come out at halftime? And now you have Nick Mullins throwing against a lot of backups to Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson is not going to be particularly popular on a slate like this. What do we have? 16%, yeah. But still, that's less than half of CeeDee Lamb's ownership right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if Lamb comes up even higher.
I think there's a part of me too. I want to throw this out there as a Viking guy and just, watching blurbs and things go across and just kind of getting a feel for who Justin Jefferson is. There's something that tells me there is no way he's not going for 120 yards receiving. He wants to get to 1,000 yards because, I know he missed a lot of time. He missed 9 weeks in the middle of the season. He missed from week 5 to week 14. Or I guess it would be week 6 to week 13. So I guess 7-8 weeks in the middle of that. But he's a guy that's at 882 right now. There's no way that a prideful dude like Justin Jefferson isn't going to ask for 120 to get over the 1,000-yard mark because he wants to get there every season of his career. I just feel that in my bones.
I hear you. I think the raw points are important, but I don't think it's like raw points to CeeDee Lamb on a 2-game slate either.
I probably agree with that, where you just have more access. There's going to be deep shots, but again, that's where it's like, tell me who that guy is then. That's where it's so hard. I think AJ Brown is the guy that you are confident in. And I mean, Devonta Smith being out, that's definitely going to be something that could benefit him against a Giants secondary that isn't all that imposing for sure. But yeah, it should be a game that the Giants are playing straight up, trying to limit and do things to stop in AJ Brown. Not that you can really stop him, but do you trust Sirianni to do the smart thing and just pepper AJ Brown 15, 20 times? I'm not positive that I do.
Maybe not. I haven't all year, but I'm willing to find out if he's single digit owned. That's all I'm saying.
Fair.
Like DJ Moore, we have at 8%. DK Metcalf against Arizona, must win game, 7%. Chris Godwin against Carolina, 7%. Not all of these guys are even in the same price tier, but I'm just giving you a few guys that I find. Sam Howell's going to start, so that sucks. If it was Brissett, I'd be looking at a $5,500 McLaurin, but Mike Evans, 6% right now. Mike Evans has 30+ fantasy point upside without question. Let's not overlook the fact that, on the season, Mike Evans is currently sitting at 1,233 receiving yards and 13 touchdowns, right? This dude has a very big ceiling. So does DJ Moore. And he played 5 games or whatever without Justin Fields. So I think you have the pick of the litter when it comes to these wide receivers in the mid-range this week.
Yeah, I'm completely with you here. I think it's going to be more intriguing to talk about the cheapies that we think could be viable because there's going to be some 0.5% guys who make their way into my lineups this week. That's for sure. A lot of them on teams that have already solidified some type of status where, hey, I think you're going to see it be kind of interesting to take shots on some of the unknowns there. But the mid-range is definitely where you kind of want to be living here with the rest of the wide receiver position. Godwin and Evans, obviously, I think you and I are both interested in Tampa Bay. It's weird to see their ownership in single digits, knowing that they're one of the teams with something to play for. DK Metcalf, he's a freak beyond a freak, but Arizona's been really good against wide receivers specifically this season. Been the best team against wide receivers this season from a fantasy perspective. So limiting them massively in a way you wouldn't necessarily expect. But that kind of opens up some opportunity to get to like Jackson Smith and Jigba at 4,800, just stepping into a larger role within the framework of the offense, getting targeted in big spots, even though, some of those were Drew Lock looks, if you will. But I'm with you. Terry McLaurin would have been a lot of fun here as a run back with the CeeDee Lamb spot. That's no longer going to be a thing with Sam Howell out there. They made the call to Riverboat Ron and said, nope, you're not going to do that. So that was unfortunate for everybody involved. I want to ask you, though, Brandon Cooks, 5,200. If you're not going to be playing as much CeeDee Lamb, you have to play some Brandon Cooks, don't you?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Or you just have to play like an insane amount of Tony Pollard.
Yeah, that or Jake Ferguson. You got to get
like
to something
Ferguson
else
a lot this week, though.
The Washington secondary is that pitiful where you just have to get to something. If you're not going to play CeeDee Lamb in lineups, which again, from a game theory perspective, totally understand if you want to take the path of least resistance there and just say, all right, I'm not going to play a 45% owned CeeDee Lamb in single entry. You got to play something else. You have to get there because Dak Prescott is not going to fail against Washington in a spot where they are trying to win a football game. It's just, I can't imagine it not happening. He's the highest projected quarterback on the slate for good reason.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, the only other question is, does Dallas just spread it around enough to where it doesn't make a difference? Like, I'm looking at when they played Washington earlier this year. Cooks had 4 for 72 and a touchdown. Lamb had 4 for 53 and a touchdown. They both finished with 17 fantasy points. Jake Ferguson in that same game, and by the way, they put up 45 points.
Yeah, and you had Dak put up 35. So
yep. Yeah, 1
Wild.
for 35 for Ferguson. Michael Gallup had nothing, essentially.
He doesn't live.
Was it Kevontae Turpin that had a game there?
Turpin had a decent game.
He had a 34-yard reception for a touchdown. Yep. And I assume Pollard was okay then.
Pollard was where did they just go? My sheet is on Tennessee for some stupid reason.
He had 13 for 79 and a touchdown, 6 for 24 receiving. He had 22. But it's funny because you wouldn't have needed this is a Thanksgiving game. But if this were a 13 game, so you wouldn't have needed any of them.
Yeah.
Dak would have been helpful.
If you run this game enough times against Washington, that's always the fun thing where you look at a sample size of one from the NFL because you have to. Like, we don't have a choice. And that's what the Sims tool, that's the value in it, is being able to send these things 10,000 times and then to be able to have like a better outlook on the slate that sometimes we see, oh, well, it got spread around. Dak Prescott was the only guy you really wanted to have there from that spot. And it's like, yeah, that's true. But it's one of those things where there are going to be games where CeeDee goes for 40. There's going to be games where Jake Ferguson goes for 25. You get Brandon Cooks for 25 in some of these spots. Like, those are still things that are very, very, very live to happen if you play Washington more than once.
Agreed. I agree. I'm just wondering, is the optimal rate higher than ownership?
That's a great question. I mean, they're the top stack in the top stacks tool right now. I don't expect that to change in any way, shape, or form. And they're going to be playing a Washington team that, for all intents and purposes, has laid over, and they did so as soon as they traded Young and Sweat.
Any other cheap receivers you want to look at?
Oh boy, I have some absolute dust down here.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so we can start with Tutu Atwell for the Rams. I know that's a guy that you like at 3,300. Just you routinely like his talent level. I think this is a spot where Carson Wentz, why wouldn't you just have him out there chucking? And I think Demarcus Robinson is somebody that people are actually going to give quite a bit of attention to against San Francisco. San Francisco going to be resting a lot of their guys. But between Tutu Atwell, Ben Skoranek, and Demarcus Robinson, I want to play something with Carson Wentz out there, who is, for, he knows the profile. He knows what people have said about him at this point in time. Can he still play? Can he be a pseudo Joe Flacco of sorts and come in and show that he's still serviceable at the NFL level. This is going to be an audition, and it's going to be a great opportunity for him to show people that, hey, I can still go out and I can go try to at least chuck it around the field. So I want to get to something from the Rams. I'm going to have a lot of Jordan Mason again if the slate started now. I think you want to play something there. And Tutu Atwell, he was over 1,000-yard receiver at a Power 5 school. So I at least have that confidence where he can be that alpha type. And Robinson's been playing so well that maybe they try to limit him to some certain extent here. The other one is Alex Erickson from the Chargers going up against Kansas City here. You said Kansas City might play it straight up, but like 8 targets from Alex Erickson there. There's at least some chances where sub 4K you get to him and you're sitting pretty well in terms of like getting 7, 8, 9 targets, because the Rams, they're not going to play Keenan Allen. They're not going to play anybody who matters here in this spot. So this is yet another audition for him. And he's at least shown that he can get some type of separation there. Short yardage outs for Easton Stick, something that I'm at least a little bit intrigued by. And Jason Brownlee. There's so much talent there. He's been dinged
we're
up.
Digging deep, huh?
Oh, I said, I'm getting disgusting. I said, I have like 5 guys on this sheet that I'm kind of just like rotating through. And Jason Brownlee is somebody that I think has a ton of talent from the preseason. He's just been dinged up and getting no opportunity. He's played and been active the last 2 weeks, week 16, week 17. He has been a catch or two away from taking things to the house in spots. At 3,200 against New England, absolutely nobody is going to play him, 0.1%. And I don't completely hate it. A.T. Perry from the Saints, a big-bodied receiver going up against Atlanta, 3,300, somebody that I like mixing into some lineups here. And last, Curtis Samuel. If you're looking for a run back from Dallas, they have really no reason not to just hit the guy. Short yardage outs. Maybe they go a little bit light on Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin. They've proven they will never go light on Curtis Samuel playing in the slot there. So 4,300. How'd I do?
Did great.
Thank you.
I like a lot. Did you mention Ronnie Bell?
I did not, but I like Ronnie Bell.
Reason Ronnie Bell stands out to me a little bit is because, like, if you take Ayuk, Kittle, Samuel, probably even Juwan Jennings off the field, already know Christian McCaffrey, but it's still a watered down vanilla version, but still Kyle Shanahan's offense. And Sam Darnold is not the worst backup that you could have in this offense either. So I think Ronnie Bell could be one of those guys that if I'm digging really deep to 3,200, I have like, okay, here's how I look at it. Would I rather be taking backups on really bad teams?
Yep.
In some cases, maybe. Or would I rather be taking backups on teams that are like good, that actually have depth, that actually have good play calling, even if it's vanilla play calling? That's why Ronnie Bell to me is pretty interesting.
Well, and the other beautiful thing, not that you can't play Jordan Mason with them, but I do expect Jordan Mason to be the highest owned cheap running back when it's all said and done at the end of the week. I expect him to be 25% owned. I know that seems crazy. We have him right now at 8.3%. But if you look across the industry, I feel it coming. I know it to be true. Jordan Mason is going to get jammed. You are getting so much leverage going to Sam Darnold plus Ronnie Bell or Chris Conley. You have Ross Dwelly, who I think has a pretty good chance to miss this game, and Charlie Warner could end up being some type of chalk at 2,500 there for San Francisco. You're getting some leverage just going to the Ronnie Bell, Chris Conley side of things here with Darnold. And I love that point that you're making. That's kind of the point that I'm making with the Rams, where I like Sean McVay and what he's done with this aerial attack this season, you know, without Cooper Kupp, getting Puka Nacua in the mix and just knowing how to get guys fed. Tutu Atwell, Demarcus Robinson, those are the 2 guys I would want to get access to on the other side. So yeah, Ronnie Bell, definitely somebody I'm interested in too.
Want to talk some tight ends here?
Oh, that was fun though. I like these cave dweller wide receiver slates. It feels good. It feels right.
It's fun. It's fun. Depends on who's throwing them the football, but it's fun.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, Derek Carr is not exciting by any means. Rashid
Give me
Shaheed,
your top 3 wide receivers right now then.
CeeDee Lamb by a mile. Justin Jefferson, because I think there are very limited ways I think that he doesn't go for 100 in this spot. Nick Mullins, if he is smart, and I think Nick Mullins might not be the most talented guy, but he seems like somebody who's going to feed Justin Jefferson here. And then I'll go to the mid-range here. How do you not like Chris Godwin / Mike Evans here? Yep. It feels too good to be true, what we're looking at for the ownership there. I know Carolina's been decent as a secondary at limiting wide receivers, but I don't expect much. And then from the cheap end, I'm just absolutely in love with Tutu Atwell. That's going to be kind of the main guy. Don't hate the Ronnie Bell. Definitely with you there. Chris Conley, somebody that I expect to be activated there in a good spot. And one last one that I didn't show out there earlier, but Keelan Doss, another guy from the Chargers. I just expect them to throw and have Easton Stick screw around, and Kansas City is playing nobody. So might as well just have the Chargers go have fun.
I'll go AJ Brown and Justin Jefferson.
Okay.
Like CeeDee Lamb, to me, I'm likely going to have plenty of him, but I love that top tier. And then, like you said, Evans and Godwin, cheap guy, Ronnie Bell for me, I think. Bell or Conley, one of those guys. I'll take that offense. I have no problem with those guys being tethered to like still a good team, even though, the funny thing, have you seen the total for this game?
Which one?
San Fran.
I was trying to bet Trey Jones over as quick as he's going to start today. No, I have not seen that total at all.
A lot of people would look at this and go, okay, preseason game, 34-point total. It's a 41-point total. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games on a 13-gamer with a higher total. That's it. This is right in the middle. Maybe
and
don't
everybody's
avoid it.
cheap.
Everybody's cheap. Let's talk about tight ends. So, all right, we know that, thank God, Travis Kelce's not going to play. What a disaster that's been. I mean, holy shit, what a fall from grace we've seen.
How is this possible? Like, how has the world turned on Travis Kelce this much? Except for, his podcast is incredible. We all hate his dating life. We're all sick of this shit. Like, but from a football perspective, I've never seen anything like this.
I don't know, man. I think it's ever since he took 20 mil from Pfizer to do those campaigns. He said, what's the point of football?
Cut it.
What?
Cut it. Stop it, Jordan Klein. Cut it.
What? I'm saying the guy got paid $20 million to do some commercials.
Here at Stochastic, we have no affiliation to anything that has to do with anything political. Hopefully you enjoy sports.
This isn't political.
Thumbs up, everybody.
Hold on. You want me to get political? I'll get political.
I feel so cringe. Stop, please.
No. Why are you cringing? It has nothing. It could be him taking $20 million.
I'm a California beta. What can I say?
Management company.
I'm just a beta. No,
dude, you're missing the point here. This could be him taking $20 million from, from MGM Studios.
Right.
I'm saying, guy just got paid $20 million. He's dating Taylor Swift. Who cares about football?
I was going to say, Aaron Rodgers puts him on. Well, I guess he puts everybody on blast now, too. So there's that.
Like Jimmy Kimmel. That's a libel case waiting to happen.
This is just going to get ridiculous.
By the way, I'm not saying I actually believe that, that's why.
No.
But it is crazy that the moment all of this stuff started happening, he went from the best ever, and he'll probably go down probably still as the best tight end ever.
Yes.
To a guy that, if you're playing him each week, you're just biting the bullet and you're going, I'm probably overpaying here.
As Greg Ehrenberg would say, a cuck bagel. There you are.
Yeah. You say, I'm going to, you know what? Yeah. I don't want to, but I'm going to take the jab. I don't know why you cringed at that. You'd think I was going on some political.
Nope. It's just hilarious. It's just funny. If we're going to be honest, it's just funny because Travis Kelce, it is kind of correlated towards him getting absolutely incinerated by Aaron Rodgers. And then his performance since that has not been good. That is a fact. They are perfectly correlated in a downward spiral.
Anyway, you getting the booster?
Tight end.
No, I'm just messing with you.
No. Trey McBride's a good play.
Yeah, he is. Trey McBride's awesome, man. We talked about it last week. Where would we rank? If we were drafting today, where would we put a lot of?
Yeah, he'd be boosted into the second round.
There you go. I like that.
Thank you.
Trey McBride. I love Jake Ferguson here. 12% Jake Ferguson. It's gross, but Gerald Everett's coming off a bad game, and I had a lot of him last week. I don't mind going back to Everett. He still had another 9-target game, and now he's going up against a bunch of backups for Kansas City. I don't know how many second stringers are going to be out there, but I would assume plenty of them. He's 10% owned. Tight end's not loaded, but I do think they're like Dallas Goedert's 5%. If Devontae Smith is out, Dallas Goedert should be on your radar for sure. Forget about how dysfunctional this team is, and they are. 5%, 6, 7, 8% Dallas Goedert if Devontae Smith sits. And now, because listen, the whole Julio thing was more of a mirage than anything else, right? It's a blip on the radar, an exception to the rule. Call it what you want. If this passing game becomes just, AJ Brown and Dallas Goedert, I don't really care if they're running a vanilla offense. I'm still going to have plenty of both of them.
I'm 100% with you. I think you just get to him against the Giants there from a talent perspective too. Just somebody that can do something after. Has there ever been a tight end that you've seen? Dallas Goedert, I feel like he never catches the ball beyond the line of scrimmage, and then he just makes something happen. And I know that that's not true, and it's not showing in the data, but like every time I watch Dallas Goedert, it is like a sideline throw from Jalen Hurts, and then just breaking tackles. Like that seems like the Dallas Goedert way. He's so good at it, though, so who really gives a shit? Like getting to Trey McBride, obviously. Jake Ferguson in the game environment, really hard to get away from. Gerald Everett, I think, was a lucky getaway for me a little bit last week. Sims Tool obviously loved him, and he got the target volume there at 9, and he just ended up so popular, especially in like the afternoon slate, that it ended up being a decent thing to get away from. But I got to say, cheapies at tight end, if you're not going to play McBride and Ferguson, what else do you like? Because like for me, all of these dudes are backups, whether it's Johnny Munt 3K, like getting to him, former Ram, gets in the same style offense immediately here and now has a role without Hawkinson there. K-Dot and 3,100, game that matters, something that I like getting to. Everybody's 3,100 or cheaper, and pretty much nothing else that I would be remotely paying up for.
Yep. I'm with you. And by the way, guys, I did mention it earlier in the show, but I want to clarify in case you came in late. Nick Sirianni they have asked questions about resting starters. It has been, thrown around. So we'll know on Sunday.
Okay.
I don't mind being a little bit flippant about it now because we're going to know by Sunday anyway. You know what I mean? Like we'll know. Same thing with the Lions. Like you talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown. We'll know. So if you like him now and you expect him to play, we'll know. But yeah, if there's any possibility that that's the case, I will be far away. Would you play Marcus Mariota?
Yes.
Okay. You would?
I would. Yeah. First of all, I married into a Duck family, and if I won $1 million with Marcus Mariota, they might crown me king.
You'd be a hero.
I would be a hero. I would never, ever, ever want again in my entire life. So Marcus Mariota would take me to the promised land. I would definitely have to have some shares just as an emotional life hedge.
Okay. I'm okay.
You didn't expect that answer.
I didn't. I like that answer. I didn't expect it, but I like it.
Yep.
Darren Waller. Problem is they're using Daniel Bellinger right now, so that kind of sucks. Like they're both getting involved. There was one more guy I wanted to talk about. Let me find him.
Davis Allen?
No. That's fine. Tucker Kraft, if all of them are hurt.
Mm-hmm.
What does Green Bay look like right now? Let's see. All right, so let's see what the practice report looked like yesterday. Unless we have something for today, but
it just feels like he's never coming back, Musgrave. It feels like he's never coming back.
I know, but like Jordan Reed is still limited. Christian Watson is limited.
Yep.
And Christian Watson hasn't played since week 13. Dontavian Wicks is going to be questionable with that chest injury. Luke Musgrave, I don't know if he ends up coming back. So I'm just saying, like, what happens if all of those guys or most of them are out? Then Tucker Kraft becomes a great play at his price point.
I would agree with that. I don't
think it'll happen, though. I think they're going to force some of these guys onto the field for a must-win game.
I'm with you. Charlie Warner would be, I brought him up during the wide receiver segment, but Ross Dwelly, that's a guy who they'll probably want on the field. And Charlie Warner, he at least has pedigree coming from Georgia, somebody who can be a dog, if you will. And 2,500, I bet he'd end up kind of chalky if Ross Dwelly ends up out.
You think so?
I do. The game environment, we talked about it. Rams, San Francisco, 41.5 total. Offenses that you like. They're going to have to put out like practice squad dudes from tight end if they're going to have Ross Dwelly out. Braden Willis is the next guy on the depth chart, and he is a blocker.
That is true. And again, yeah, you're right. 41-point totals, nothing to sneeze at. It's really not bad. Want to take a look at some top stacks?
That sounds more fun than trying to pick between like Colby Parkinson and Tommy Tremble. And yeah,
and here's the thing, man.
I
don't think you're really going to need to, if we're being honest. There's going to be so much value everywhere else.
I'm with you. But it's fun to play a lot of 2,500 guys like Blake Bell. If, they end up, Noah Gray has been actually involved in this offense and he's pulling the ownership right now. I could for one swap down to Blake Bell and just feel better about things. Sure. Like there's going to be punts all over the place. I just don't know who they are. Lucas Kroll, that was somebody that I had a lot of last week. It sucked. He only had 2 catches, 14 yards, but he seems decently good here playing in Vegas. Sure, I'll have some shares of him again.
Yeah, anyway, I mean, I look at a few of these spots in the top stacks tool, which, by the way, guys, any of our tools, link in the description and in chat, just the everything, right? Whether it's a lineup generator you want to get in at a good price, I think it's the best tool for your money if you're playing lower stakes right now and you're trying to grind your way up and you're just looking for something that's going to help you. The lineup generator is absolutely awesome for NFL or for NBA. We have a PGA lineup generator too. And then of course the contest simulator or the lineup simulator, that's the holy grail for sure. Allows you to generate up to 1,000 contests, sims them 40,000 times. It's an amazing, amazing tool. Amazing. And we still got a lot of football to go, by the way. Like you still have, the NFL postseason, you're going to have like the Monday game and there a lot of, because
I'm going to DraftKings Sportsbook with my parents for that Monday, the wild card weekend. That's next. Yeah. Not this Monday, but the next Monday.
Nice. Sims tools crush for showdowns too. There's going to be a lot of showdowns.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday night game. It's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, there's going to be, so we're going to have what? There'll be 6 individual showdowns next week or 5, 6, right?
So 2 plays, 6.
There's 12 teams that are going to be playing.
6. Yep. There's going to be 6 games.
Yep.
Unreal.
So still a lot of time to check it out. Even if you just dabble for a week of the Sims tool, whether it's Sims Max or Sims Data. And if you ever have any questions, hit me up. My DMs are open on Twitter, but I'll link to all of our tools in the description or in chat. I think you guys will love them. Plus, we'd love to have you join the community, get in the Discord. Not only that, but the top stacks tool, ownership, player projections, boom bust tools, all of our tools on top of just the Sims. We got you covered from top to bottom. Looking at the top stacks tool now, though, Dallas, crazy high top stack rating. No surprise there. Minnesota too, which is, I guess, somewhat surprising, but not entirely, because now you take TJ Hawkinson out of that lineup. And if you assume it's a 1 p.m. game, so like they're going to play full throttle. I agree with you. You mentioned it earlier. Does Nick Mullins to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison type approach seem all that insane when you consider there's also the added wrinkle of Detroit maybe not playing their starters all game?
Nope, it's not crazy at all. Again, Minnesota isn't completely dead in the water. They need everything to fall their way. Some people on the show might say 0% and hurt my feelings, but they have a 9% chance for all intents and purposes. I guess 4% playoff percentage, 9% chance if they win this football game to advance to the postseason. So not having that say 0% at least matters to some extent. And to be facing a team that, is obviously, 3, 4, there's a little jockeying in terms of position to some extent on the other side. I don't hate this. I mean, the backup secondary from Detroit could only be a good thing to be going up against. And Nick Mullins, despite himself, he will chuck. He has no problem out there chucking. He is a poor man's Brett Favre out there. So it is what it is. I think this actually kind of makes sense to me. I mean, Philly, there's a lot of question marks there. I think that's kind of showing up in the top stack as well. Seattle, wild to see them there ahead of Tampa Bay for sure. But it looks like, for all intents and purposes, pretty accurate.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good.
No, it doesn't, but it does. Look, it's not gonna, all of this is not going to look great. There's going to be spots that we just have to go, all right, I'm doing it, right? I'm going to do it. Tampa Bay looks pretty decent. I like Tampa Bay this week. Baker, he has all of those. He has like $3 million of incentives on the line, but really the only thing that matters is win and get in, win and win the division. Like that's all that matters against the Carolina team that, God, they have no future. None. They have no future.
None. And their coach or their owners out there chucking drinks at fans.
Yeah, even he's
Finding him.
pissed off.
Did you see the number of what that is for an normal person? How much money he has? Where $300,000, what it was an
No,
equivalent
what
of you
was
or
it?
me paying? $1.19.
Really? That can't be right.
It is 100% the 1-for-1 scale that I saw on twitter.com, and Twitter doesn't lie. It was somebody, I can't remember the account, but I remember the number exactly because I was like, $1.19. 19 is my birthday for whatever it matters. But yeah, $1.19 is how much a $300K fine was to him for somebody who has a $50,000 annual income.
That's crazy.
Unreal.
Wow. Yeah, didn't matter. Drop in the bucket.
300K.
Amazing. But yeah, Tampa, dude, again, Baker with Rachaad White, Mike Evans, Baker with Evans, Godwin, Baker with Godwin, Rachaad White. I think all of that's entirely viable. Seattle, we didn't talk a lot about them, but I don't hate Seattle stacks at all this week. Like,
I like that game. I like the game a lot.
Me too. Me too. I definitely like that spot we can't sleep on. And then one more. I'll give you one more before we go. And if you have anything else, feel free to throw it out there. I'm not entirely opposed to Tyrod Taylor stacks. The only thing I hate there is you're trying to figure out, is it Wandale? Is it Slayton? Is it Waddle? Or sorry, is it Waller? That's what sucks, because it's already like not a potent offense. That's why I think I'd probably rather just go to Barkley.
So fucking pissed at the Rams for letting the Darius Slayton deep shot. That cost me so much money, because Tyrod Taylor would have had basically the same outcome as Jarrett Stidham, and it wouldn't have affected me last week. Because of that throw and because of the chalk nature of Wandale and Darius Slayton, I ended up getting absolutely destroyed on last week's slate. So that was brutality. I'm probably with you. Again, I'll play anything against the Philadelphia secondary. If it's you out there running the slot, I think I would roster you at this point in time. I know Darius Slay is expected back, though, correct?
As far as I know, yeah.
Okay, I had heard that he was trending towards playing. Hadn't checked back on that since yesterday, but that's obviously somebody that they need. They could use anybody off the street and make it an improvement right now. But yeah, Tyrod Taylor, I'm definitely going to have my shots there. Obviously, you're not getting the same prices on them that you got last week. If you're a week early on that one, congratulations to you. I'm a fish. But last one I'll throw out there just because I want to. San Francisco, Sam Darnold, you brought up all the reasons, and it's super cheap, that game environment. The Rams on the other side with Carson Wentz. I like getting to both sides of it, although the top stacks tool does not like the Rams in comparison to San Francisco. That is for sure.
Fun season, man.
It's awesome. Awesome.
I assume we will be back. We'll be doing something in some capacity for the playoffs. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, no question. No question.
We just have to figure out what that is. But anyway, hey, you guys are the best. For real. Follow Eric at Eric Lindquist on Twitter. Whenever we're not on YouTube, you can find us there, or on a premium Discord if you're hanging out with us there, be it on Odd Shopper or the Stochastic side. You know where to find everybody. And I'm at Loughran_D on Twitter, LOUGHY_D. Thanks to Jordan for producing this one as always. And hey, I guess we'll see him back here next week, huh?
Sounds like a plan. I'm ready to rock.
All right, later, fellas. Have a great weekend.